So this is the Norwich City Guild drum carder. It's made by Classic Carders, and it is fairly self-explanatory, but you should watch this video before you borrow it just to make sure you don't damage it or yourself. Now, in the packet is this sign. So it says, don't use with unwashed fleece, ensure you've attended a tutorial or watched the video before use, that is this video, and be careful, the tines are sharp. Now, the first one, unwashed fleece, that means fleece with any grease in it. So if you do a swint vat for your fleece, that still counts as unwashed. It's still dirty and greasy, and you can damage the carder. Any bit of grease will get stuck around the tines or on the axles and be very hard to remove. And then any little bits of dust and dirt that come out the tips of the fleece can get stuck into that grease and become kind of abrasive, and you will end up breaking the carder. You can see there's a few bent tips here, maybe you can't, but there's the odd few bent tines, and that's been caused either by overloading the carder or using greasy fleece, because it doesn't slide as smoothly past itself as clean fleece, so it will snag and break the carder. So if you're using it with raw fleece, make sure it's completely washed. When you rub it between your fingers, it doesn't feel greasy at all. Next thing, video tutorial, that's what we're doing, and be careful, it's sharp, and you can touch it with your hands and it's fine, but you may find when you're removing the bat, you need to be very careful. If you rub your knuckles across this, you will give yourself a graze. And the next thing is here on the back, you can see the drive band is open, so that means you want to make sure nothing gets caught in that. If you have your fibre on the table here behind, then you need to make sure none of that fibre gets sucked into the mechanism. You'll also see I have a very helpful helper here, and it's another thing you need to watch out for. Keep your pets and keep your children away from this. This one is going to get chucked off when I start actually using it. Now, if you feel you need to, you can attach this to the table. There's a little hole just there, and there is another hole on the far end over here, and it comes with these little clamps. So I think I'm going to move it just to the edge of the table and put one clamp in. Maybe if I were using it for a big long carding session, I would put a few more in, but as it is, I think just the one will suffice. And this model is quite good. It doesn't need to be attached off the edge because the handle still turns. Now, when you turn the handle, you should hear the teeth touching just barely every now and then. So I don't know if my microphone will pick this up, but let's see. It's just ever so occasional touching. If it makes a noise, I'm going to simulate. If it makes a noise like that the whole time you're turning it, that's bad. Stop using it and bring it back. It needs readjusting. I've just got mess off my other carder in there now. And if it makes no noise, the teeth don't touch at all, you may find the drums are just a little bit too far apart. These instructions are specific to this carder that the Guild own. Different models have different rules. My personal carder, the teeth don't touch at all. Some brands, Luet especially, the teeth touch the entire time. But this one, there should be a gap down it that's somewhere between the thickness of a piece of paper and a credit card, and you should just get the occasional touching. So once you've got that all ready and you know it's working, set up how it's supposed to be, this is how the thing actually works. You have a small drum here that's called the liquor in, a large drum here that's called the swift. You put fibre in here through the feed tray, it goes under the liquor in, comes up between the two drums and wraps onto the swift. And if you look, the big drum turns a lot faster than the small one. That means the fibre's stretched out between the two, and what is a single layer on here actually ends up stretched out to be several layers on the large drum, meaning your fibre is really nicely opened up. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to go grab some fleece, as I think that's what most of you are using with this, and come back. So this is the drum carder, and this is how clean it should be when you both receive it and when you return it. So you can see there's No little bits of fibre stuck in the teeth. If you look down here on the axles, there's no fibre caught around any of them. There's this little gap in here. There's no bits of dust and dirt. Generally just completely, totally clean, so the next person can start using it straight away and they don't have to worry about you having used white fibre and them using black and it contaminating their bats. So I found some fleece. This is a Portland. It's fairly low in bits of VM, veg matter, but you can see there's a little, the odd couple of tiny little bits in here. So what I'm doing is, before I'm carding it, I'm picking out bits I don't want. So that bit's a little bit short. Down here I've already picked out I think that's the second cut where the shearer's gone over the same spot twice. And I'm just generally opening it up. If you don't have a picker, which I don't, and they're a little bit rough on fleece anyway, you do this by hand. So just go through and open up the locks sideways a few times. Now that's picked. It lets any bits fall out and just makes it a little bit more fluffy. Now this Portland, you can see it's got a staple length of about that much. You can card anything up to maybe that much on the drum, so what's that, 5-6 inches. If you go too much longer, it's just going to wrap around the drum and get snagged. You may get away with it a little bit longer than that, but your end result isn't going to be great anyway. For longer stuff, generally you'll want it to be combed. So I have this little pile here of picked fibre. It's not enough to make a full bat, but it's enough to show you how the carder works. Now, because I'm not making a full bat, I'm not going to go the full width of the carder. Instead of making a very thin bat, I'm going to make a narrow bat that's still reasonably thick. Let's see if I can give you a bit of a better view. We go up and then you go down. There we go. Now I do still have a very helpful cat helper, but hopefully she's going to behave herself. If not, you will see me take a break to throw her out. So we want to put our picked fibre on the feed tray to go in under the liquor rim onto the main drum. Now I put that on like that. That's way too much. That's way too thick. That's going to clog between the drums. It's not going to get good carding motion, and you could potentially bend the teeth. So I want a far smaller amount for the first pass. That's probably about right. You want to be able to sort of read through. If there was a book under there, you want to be able to see it through. So I put that on and I turn the handle. Now you may find for some fibres you want to keep your hand gently on here to stop them pulling in too fast. You absolutely don't want to pull on here, as it will make them wrap around the liquor in. So just turn the handle and that deposits that fibre onto that drum. And I will repeat for, I did it all the way across the whole width. I wasn't thinking. All right, so we are going to make a wider bat. And it has these two little stops here to stop the fibre going right to the edge of these drums and falling off and going around the axle. If it does start to do that for any reason, then stop and pick it off. You don't want, like if this fibre here started falling off the edge, I would stop and make sure it didn't do that, because that's no good for it. And this is pretty much all there is to it for the first pass. You put light and airy fluffed up fibre on and let it go between the drums, deposit on the large drum. Now I could probably, hopefully try and show you what happens if you do it wrong. If I hold on to this, is it going to do it? Oh no, it's too short. Well, you can see it kind of having a hard time going on, but yeah, if I hold on to that, it's making it more likely to come back and wrap around this drum. Oh, yeah, it did there. So don't do that, just gently guide it on. It's hard for me to reach it with my other hand at all because the camera's in the way, so it's good training to not misbehave with it. Now you will notice at some point this starts getting a little bit full, even though it's not actually full at all. I'm just going to dig around in the bag that comes with it and get some of the bits out. So one of the things you get with it is this brush, and this brush just helps pack the fibre down. If you hold it here and turn, then that squishes it down between the teeth. And if you have any stubborn bits, you can actually manually smush them down. But this will help you pack on an awful lot more. And this brush is really useful if you're doing anything fly away, so like alpaca or silk or something that really doesn't want to sit in between the teeth. That brush will help squish it in there, and you'll get an awful lot more on. So you can see here that I've got maybe a little lumpy bit. Oh no. So just check as you're putting stuff on, make sure it's all stuff that you'd want in your bat. So I think this is probably going to get a little bit boring to watch now, so I may do some video magic and speed up the next bit until my drum is full. Okay, now I could probably fit maybe double this amount on here, probably more, but it's surprisingly hard to use a card with a camera tripod in the way. So I'm going to take this bat off and show you what it looks like. Now, the carder comes with a doffing tool that's essentially like a straight knitting needle. I haven't got that with me, it got left behind at the guild room. So I'm using my doffing tool, which is a slightly different shape. Mine goes around a corner like this, so I can pull it towards me. The guild one you'll be using away from you, but it's exactly the same principle. You find this gap here in the piece of wood and remove the bat slowly, a little bit at a time. You don't want to just go like that and try and pull as hard as you can. You will damage all sorts of things. So just find a small section and release it and work all the way along, just doing a small piece at a time. And when it's all done, it should look like that. And I have got a little bit of extra fluff here that's caught on my doffing tool. I will save that and put that through on the next pass. So to unwind this, I want to pull from as close to the drum as I can. If I pull from up here, then all these fibres run a risk of getting trapped in. Whereas if I roll it up in my hands and pull from right here and make sure I try and get as many of these bits up as I can. This one doesn't want to go, so I'll just grab a knitting needle and pull it up. I should now be able to get the whole lot off without too much left behind. Now if I'm planning to do the same fibre, loads and loads and loads of bats, maybe I don't need to be as careful here and I'll just do it at the end. But if you want as much in your bat as possible, then stay as close as you're rolling as possible. You can also bring it down here and pull it off the back using this piece of wood as your guide, but I prefer not to do that. It doesn't feel as good to me, so I tend to do the rolling thing. So the first pass especially, you'll find you get fibres caught in the drum. For subsequent passes, they tend to stick together more cohesively in the bat. And when I'm using this, I'm going horizontal across the drum. I'm not poking it in. That will damage the card cloth. So make sure you're just going underneath the fibre and lifting it up. You're not going into the cloth at all. Go, and then that bit there looks a bit crappy, so I'll get rid of that. There's a short bit there, there's a short bit there, I don't want in my bat. Okay, so this is what I've got off the carder. Now obviously it's a lot fluffier and nicer than when I put it in, but that's still not ready to spin unless you have very low standards in terms of consistency. If you want a nice lumpy bumpy yarn, fine, spin this. If you want a really consistent yarn, this needs to go through several more times. So what I'll do, I'll split this bat lengthways. That's into 2 strips. Let's split this one again. Now this part of the process does at least go a little bit faster than the first pass, because you've got all the fibre in one long sausage. And I can go through here again, and like that bit's a little bit that I don't want in there, another bit that I don't want in there. Make this a really thin see-through lacy layer, and I put that back through. I got a bit stuck on there, but I'll just pull that off and let it transfer over. And I have this bit here that I got caught on my doffing tool, so again I will push that through, and another strip, so I have another nip in there I can pull out, and again open up this really, really thin. Like that, and then carry on turning it. It'll pick almost all of that up and move it over. A little bit more there. Now you may find that your liquor is mostly holding on to small crappy bits like this, in which case great, that's where you want them. You don't want them in your main bat, so you just leave them on there and clean it off at the end. So that's 2 passes. I'm not sure if you can see in the video, but I can see here it's already a lot more ordered. So let's go around and remove this one. Again, just do a little bit at a time, not trying to force it. And you can see already this is coming off a lot more smoothly, and there's not as many bits stuck in the teeth. That's perfectly normal for the second pass. If I put a bit more care into it, I could get it off even cleaner, but I'm deliberately leaving a bit on here so I can show you how I'm going to clean it off. So that is my second pass bat, and I'm quite fussy, so I'd probably do that another once or twice, but that is eminently spinnable now. I can come around and make sure I'm actually in camera shot. You can see I could draft from this and add some twist, and that will draft out nice and smoothly. So you don't have to put in hours and hours of time to carding, but doing multiple passes definitely gives you a superior product. So now I'm ready to clean it. You want to clean this drum before you clean this drum, because if you clean the liquor in second, it's just going to get all its crap onto this drum. So we do this one first, and it really is just a question of going in there with a knitting needle or similar tool and picking any large bits of fluff out. You'll be surprised how much comes out. It looks fairly, even when it looks fairly clean, these fibres can really build up. Now when I'm down to this sort of level of just tiny small bits that are obviously not snagged anywhere, then I stop, because I'm going to do the main finishing of the cleaning using my vacuum cleaner. Vacuum cleaner and brush attachment gets all the small bits off. So all I'm doing here is getting long bits off. So you need to do this every time you're changing fibre or colour on your card. If you don't want contamination from your previous bat into your new bat, then you need to get all the old fibre off, and before you return it to the guild we want it properly clean so the next person can just use it straight away. And if you want to use this for blending rather than carding fleece, it's pretty much exactly the same process. I will probably do a video about it on a different carder at some point if you need a bit more guidance. But it really is, you just feed stuff in thin layers. From there, underliquor into the main drum, and the more blended you want it, the more passes you will do. So for a fully blended bat, you probably want at least 4. For something that's got more chunky blocks of colour, 1 or 2 may suffice. And you can use it to blend colours, or you can use it to blend fibres. If you're going to put a bit of silk in a wool bat, say, or some sparkle, or blending 2 different types of wool if you want a sock yarn. Right, okay, so this is fairly good. There's a few tiny little bits left in here. So before I give this back, I'm just going to go over it with a vacuum cleaner, and that'll get all these small pieces out. And that's all you need to know. Have fun carding.